My name is Ethan Cole, and I'm a prince of the Abyss. Or I was. My old man, the ever-unreliable Abyss Lord, decided the best use for his heir was to send me undercover. Deep cover. For 20 freaking years. Every morning, I'm jolted awake by the sanctimonious drone of the canticles of light. Every night, I have to transcribe the litany of serenity 3 times before I'm allowed to sleep. And every time my father contacts me, it's the same old line. Just 10 more years, kiddo. The order is bound to collapse. Then, yesterday, the golden girl of the entire cultivation world, the most powerful celestial prodigy of our generation, cornered me in the alchemy lab. "Let's bond our cores, Ethan," she said. "I want to have your child." I was so scared. The abyssal charm hidden in my sleeve nearly slipped out and revealed everything. "Celeste, please think about this." She just blinked those big, innocent eyes. "Unless you prefer the company of shades? If you do, I can fall to shadow for you." Another day, another wake-up call from the choir of holier-than-thou acolytes. God, I hate the canticles of light. The endless, droning canticles. It makes my brain buzz and the abyssal energy roiling in my gut feel like it's about to curdle. I sprawled out on my plank bed, a piece of wood so hard it felt like it was actively trying to realign my spine, and stared at the unchanging stone ceiling of my cell. I took a deep breath. All I got was a lungful of clean, sterile mana, so pure it made me want to gag. I missed the abyss, where every breath was thick with the rich, coppery tang of raw abyssal energy. Now, that was invigorating. 20 years. 20 long years. I'd gone from a flashy, arrogant prince of the abyss to Ethan Cole, a bland, marginalized inner-circle disciple of the Celestial Order of Ethel. My days were a monotonous cycle of listening to sermons, meditating, slaying the occasional stray imp, and helping old ladies cross the street. I was a goddamn paragon of virtue, a beacon of righteousness. I was starting to believe it myself. I pulled the cool black stone from under my pillow. A flicker of abyssal energy, so faint no one else would ever notice, snaked from my fingertip into it. A low hum vibrated through my hand, a familiar thrum of abyssal power only I could feel. The old man was calling. I sank my consciousness into the stone. The same deep voice I'd been hearing for 2 decades, as unoriginal as ever, echoed directly in my mind, short, sweet, and full of the usual empty promises. "Kiddo, the Order might be making a move soon. Lay low, don't blow your cover. We're reaching the endgame. 10 more years, and they'll be in chaos." I listened, my face a perfect mask of indifference. He'd said the same thing 10 years ago. When he first dropped me here, he clapped me on the shoulder and sworn, "10 years tops, kiddo. Muck up their foundations from the inside, and I'll bring you home to take over the family business." I'd bought it. I busted my ass to get into the inner circle. 10 years in, I'd asked him, "Hey, Dad, when am I coming home?" His reply? "Change of plans. Need you to go deeper. 10 more years, and they'll be in chaos." And now another goddamn 10 years. I think he's either got a weird fixation on the number 10, or he just sucks at math. The vibration in the stone ceased. Call over. As always, he never asked how I was holding up, if I needed backup, or even offered a simple thanks for your hard work. Just 10 more years. I shoved the stone back under my pillow and resignedly dragged myself out of bed. I pulled on the standard-issue blue robe of the Order, a color so bland it actively depressed me. I splashed some water on my face and stared into the reflection, forcing the demonic rage in my eyes back down into the pit of my stomach. I practiced a gentle, slightly hungover expression. The perfect look for Ethan Cole, the acolyte with average talent, a passable work ethic, and the social presence of a dust bunny. I pushed the door open just as the morning bell chimed its final note. Out on the main plaza, thousands of disciples were already assembled, their voices rising in a unified chant. The sound of the canticles of light hit me like a physical blow. My eyelid twitched, my stomach clenched. I started silently reciting the litany of serenity. Once, twice. Damn it, lost my focus. Start over. I can't live like this. Senior brother Ethan, wait up. When the final bell rang, signaling the end of the morning sermon, I kept my head down and tried to blend into the river of blue-robed disciples. My only goal to get back to my cell and watch the latest dance routine from the Abyss dance troupe on my memory shard. A little demonic chaos would be good for my soul. But the clear female voice behind me was persistent and a little frantic. I paused, cursing under my breath, then quickly rearranged my face into a warm, patient smile and turn around. It was Chloe, the junior acolyte who managed the alchemy labs. She was out of breath, her cheeks flushed. "What's wrong?" "Take your time," I said, my voice gentle, a perfect imitation of a caring senior brother. It's Lady Celeste. She's here again, waiting for you in the alchemy lab." Chloe's eyes were sparkling with a level of hero worship and excitement I couldn't begin to comprehend. She said it's urgent. Celeste Thorne. The name alone made my jaw ache. Celeste, the #1 prodigy of her generation. Talent, looks, power, status. She was maxed out in every stat. The dream girl of every male disciple in the order, and probably a few of the female ones too. A perfect, untouchable moon hanging in the night sky. But for some reason, that moon had recently decided it enjoyed orbiting my humble, unremarkable rock. One day, she'd ask for my advice on an alchemical formula I knew nothing about. The next, she'd be concerned about my training progress, which I was intentionally sandbagging. Then she praised the clumsy sword technique I used in the last tournament, a technique I'd purposely flubbed to avoid showing my true strength, as having a unique, back-to-basics charm. I developed a conditioned reflex to avoid her. Whenever she was near, I became the center of attention. Countless stares, envious, jealous, suspicious, would pierce me from every direction. My whole mission depended on staying low-key. She was basically painting a giant neon sign over my head that said, "This guy is super shady." Plus, being around her was incredibly stressful. I was terrified I'd say the wrong thing, and her crystal-clear eyes, which seemed to see right through everything, would discover the monster hiding under my skin. Just tell her I had a sudden breakthrough and need to go into seclusion to meditate. I tried one last desperate attempt. Chloe gave me a look that screamed, "Yeah, right, senior brother." Lady Celeste said she sensed you were just dismissed and knew you had nothing else planned for today. She said she'll wait for you at the usual spot. She won't leave until she sees you. I sighed. I was a total goner. I dragged my feet toward the alchemy labs, and sure enough, I saw that elegant, ethereal figure standing under the covered walkway. The area for 10 yards around her was completely empty. Other disciples only dared to sneak glances from a distance. Not a single one had the guts to approach her. Steeling myself, I walked over, forcing a smile. "Senior Sister Celeste, you were looking for me." Celeste turned. She was wearing a moon-white, fitted dress today that made her look even more slender and poised. Her expression was neutral, but when her eyes met mine, I always felt there was something in her gaze, something she reserved just for me, that I couldn't quite decipher. It was terrifying. "Junior brother Ethan," she said, her voice as crisp and pleasant as the chime of jade bells. "Come with me." She turned and entered a vacant alchemy chamber. My scalp prickled. Here we go again. These one-on-one meetings were the absolute worst. As I followed her in, I frantically reviewed my recent activities, searching for any slip-ups. My secret message to the old man yesterday reporting, "All clear," requesting plan for the next decade, couldn't have been detected, right? The small amount of abyssal energy I'd siphoned on my last supply run to the village should be fully digested by now, right? And there's no way anyone knew I'd lost focus reciting the litany this morning. The door to the alchemy chamber swung shut without a sound, sealing us off from the outside world. In the small space, it was just the two of us and the faint, lingering scent of medicinal herbs. The silence was making my heart pound. "Senior sister, what's so urgent?" I asked, try to seize even a sliver of control over the conversation. "Is it about that formula again? Or maybe I had some new thoughts on that sword technique. It probably wasn't back to basics charm. I think I just screwed it up." She didn't respond, just watched me. Her stare was so intense, it made the hair on my arm stand up. I subconsciously touched my face, wondering if my illusion glamour was failing. Just as I was about to crack and admit that yes, the sword technique was a complete failure, she finally spoke. Her voice wasn't loud, even softer than usual, but in the quiet of the lab, it hit my ears like a thunderclap. "Ethan Cole." She used my full name. "Let's bond our cores." I froze. My mind went blank, as if 1,000 blood demons were screeching inside my skull. What did she just say? Bond our cores? Who? Me? And her? The #1 prodigy in the world wanted a bond with a mediocre nobody like me? I had to be hallucinating. The stress was finally getting to me. Yeah, that's it. I haven't been reciting the litany enough. I'll write it 10 times when I get back. No, 20. I stood there, rooted to the spot, the expression on my face probably stupid enough to be recorded in the annals of abyssal shame. Celeste watched me, and a flicker of what might have been a smile crossed her cool eyes, but her tone remained dead serious, laced with a kind of do-or-die determination. She took a small step forward, closing the distance between us, and added the sentence that completely shattered my world. "I want to have your child." Something slipped from my hand. Clink. It was the void stone charm I kept hidden against my skin, disguised as a simple jade pendant. It could unleash a burst of abyssal energy equivalent to a single, devastating blow from a master cultivator. One of my trump cards for a quick escape or a last-ditch, take-you-with-me scenario. It slid from my suddenly numbed fingers and clattered onto the hard stone floor. The sound wasn't loud, but in this dead silent room, filled only with the sound of our breathing, it was deafening. Time seemed to stretch, to solidify. My pupils shrank to pinpricks. All the blood in my body rushed to my head, then drained away, leaving me ice cold. My heart stopped for a beat, then began hammering against my ribs so violently it hurt. I'm exposed. It was a trap. She knew all along. She was testing me. She'd been waiting 20 years for me to slip up. The cunning, the ruthlessness of the order. It's over. It's all over. 20 years of undercover work, all for nothing. Dud. I'm sorry. Even though you're a jerk, it's not your fault. I was just too stupid. A million thoughts swarmed my mind like a startled murder of crows. Almost instinctively, my fingers tensed at my side, and a thread of abyssal energy, incredibly faint, but just enough to trigger the charm's self-destruct, began to coalesce. In the split second before that wisp of shadow could touch the pendant on the floor, Celeste moved. She was faster. She bent down, her slender, pale fingers brushing past the stiff fabric of my robe, and casually picked up the damning pendant. Her fingertips grazed my wrist by accident. The touch was cool and delicate, but to me, it felt like being seared by a red-hot iron. I flinched violently, the half-formed abyssal energy instantly dissipating, leaving me choking on a breath I couldn't release. "Junior brother?" She straightened up, holding the charm in her palm, offering it back to me. Her expression was completely normal, her eyes filled with a perfect measure of confusion and concern. "What's wrong? You're so pale. Was it too sudden? Did I scare you?" She didn't notice? She didn't feel the artifact's unusual energy? Didn't sense my attempt to destroy the evidence? I stared into her eyes, desperately searching for any hint of deception or mockery. Nothing. They were as clear as glass, filled only with a frank, mating proposal. That was 1,000 times more terrifying than her discovering I was a spy. My throat was raw, as if it had been scraped with sandpaper. I managed to force out a few broken sounds. Lady Celeste. This isn't right." "What isn't right?" She tilted her head, her gaze still pure and direct, carrying a kind of innocent stubbornness. "I've given this a great deal of thought. Your heart is simple, your spiritual core is pure. Though your cultivation is slow, the stability of your foundation is unmatched in the entire order. Bonding with you would benefit both of our paths, and bearing a child would be a joyous occasion. Core is pure, foundation is stable. That's me desperately suppressing my abyssal energy, so it doesn't explode out of me. Cultivation is slow. I'm terrified of advancing too quickly and getting flagged as a top disciple who gets inspected every 5 minutes." I stared at the voidstone charm she was holding out to me. It felt like a glowing piece of charcoal. "Take it. What if she feels the abyssal energy?" "Don't take it." Even more suspicious. My fingers trembled slightly. With the slowest, most careful movement of my entire life, holding my breath, I pinched the tassel of the pendant and quickly stuffed it back inside my robe. The cold sweat on my chest made me flinch again. "Lady Celeste," I practically shouted, my voice thin and reedy. "Think about this. Please. I'm not talented enough. I'm not worthy of you. Really. There are so many amazing men in the Order. Senior brother Jason Pierce. He's young, powerful, a late-stage master. Celeste's brow furrowed almost imperceptibly, cutting me off. Senior brother Jason's will is firm, but he lacks flexibility. He is not a suitable partner for me. Then the head of the alchemy division. His family is legendary. His skills are unmatched. You'd never want for spirit stones or artifacts. Alchemy is not my path, she said, shaking her head. What about that genius from the Artificers Guild? They say he can already craft soul-bound weapons. He's loud, she stated flatly. I was on the verge of tears. Senior sister, my lady, what on earth do you see in me? I'll change. I'll change it right now. Celeste watched me quietly, watched as my forehead broke out in a sweat and my words tumbled over each other in a panicked mess. She was silent for a moment, then blinked her cool, clear eyes. Then, as if she'd suddenly stumbled upon a hidden possibility, a subtle, knowing light flashed in her gaze. She took another step forward, closer this time. I could almost count her eyelashes, could smell the faint, clean scent that clung to her, like the air after a fresh snowfall. She lowered her voice, speaking in a near whisper, a tone of probing and fierce resolve. Unless you actually prefer a shade. My breath caught. My blood froze. She knew. She knew all along. This is it. The showdown. Is she about to attack? Every muscle in my body tensed. Abyssal energy surged through my veins as I calculated whether detonating all my hidden charms could blast a path to freedom. Her next words floated into my ear, filled with a defiant, for the sake of love madness. If that's what you truly want, I can fall to shadow for you. All my abyssal energy, all my escape plans, all my desperate fight-to-the-death resolve, just stopped. Stuck. I almost imploded. You stare here. She stared back at me. Her eyes were sincere, intense, even tinged with a reckless, all-or-nothing craziness. I opened my mouth. Not a single word came out. My vision went black, and I tipped straight backward. Junior brother Ethan. I shot my eyes open. The familiar stone ceiling was above me, the hard plank bed beneath me. I was still in my own cell, not locked in the demon-suppressing tower, not tied up for interrogation. Celeste wasn't holding a sword to my throat. So, the thing I heard before I passed out. The fall to shadow for you part. That wasn't a hallucination. I bolted upright, nearly cracking my head on the person standing beside my bed. Celeste was holding a bowl of strange-smelling medicinal broth, looking down at me with a rare expression of uncertainty. You're awake. She offered the bowl. The alchemy elder said you fainted from shock, causing your life force to surge uncontrollably. This is a calming draft. I stared at the dark, murky liquid, my throat tightening. Who knew what kind of anti-demon crap they'd mixed into it? Thank you, senior sister, but I'm Fine. I scooted back. Just been training a little too hard lately. Feeling a bit weak. Celeste didn't insist, placing the bowl on the stone table nearby. She watched me in silence, and her gaze made my recently calmed heart start pounding again. Junior brother Ethan, she began, her tone more serious than I'd ever heard it. What I said yesterday was not a joke. I am entirely serious. My scalp exploded. Senior sister. No, absolutely not. Why not? She took a step closer. You are unattached, as am I. Our union would benefit our cultivation. Or is it? Her eyes darkened slightly. Do you truly prefer women of the abyss? Do you find a cultivator of the light, like myself, uninteresting? Here we go again. The fatal question. Cold sweat dripped down my back. No, absolutely not. Shades are violent, bloodthirsty, and have no sense of romance. We of the light must make it our duty to vanquish them. I, Ethan Cole, swear on my life, I despise the abyss and all its works. I had no problem trashing my own people. Celeste's brow relaxed a fraction. In that case. But I couldn't quickly. Bonding, having a child. These are huge matters. Senior sister, you are the shining star of our order. I'm just an ordinary inner circle disciple. If word of this got out, it would cause a scandal and damage your reputation. I don't care. Well, I do. I blurted out, putting on a show of being heartbroken for her sake. I can't be the one to ruin your future. This requires more thought. Yes, a great deal more thought. Celeste studied me for a long time. So long that I started to get seriously creeped out. Finally, she gave a slight nod. Phoenix, I will give you time to consider. She didn't press me further and turned to leave. I collapsed onto the bed like a beached fish. Consider? Consider my ass. The only thing I'm considering is how to get the hell out of here. I fumbled for the black stone, practically sobbing as I poured my consciousness into it. Dad, help! Mission compromised. Requesting immediate extraction. Now, right now. The stone responded quickly. The Abyss Lord's voice held a trace of annoyance at being disturbed. What's all the panic? Composure, my boy, is the way of the Abyss. I can't be composed. The Order's golden girl wants to bond with me and have my baby. She even said if I prefer shades, she'll fall. to shadow for me. How am I supposed to be composed about that? There was a long, long silence from the other end. So long I thought the connection had been cut. Explain in detail. The Abyss Lord's voice sounded strange. With what felt like tears and snot at a spiritual level, I recounted Celeste's terrifying proposal. So long story short, Dad, I can't stay here. If I do, I'll either be exposed and executed, or she'll actually drag me off to have a kid. Both outcomes are a death sentence. Another long silence. Then, the Abyss Lord's voice returned, completely transformed. It was no longer the low, promise-making drone, but something filled with a bizarre excitement. She really said she would bear your child, and even fall to shadow for you. Is that the point? I screamed internally. The point is I'm about to be exposed. This is a gift from the heavens, the Abyss Lord's voice boomed. Kiddo, my boy, you truly are my son. 20 years undercover, and you've captured the heart of the light's #1 prodigy. She's even willing to betray her own side. This is the greatest possible victory for our cause. How glorious. I was stunned. Huh. Oh, what? Say yes to her. Immediately. Bond with her. Get her pregnant. The Abyss Lord's tone was sharp, filled with an unquestionable, fiery passion. I'm your deep cover agent, not your prize stallion. This is your new mission, he commanded. Gain her trust, control her. If she truly bears a child with your abyssal bloodline and her top-tier celestial talent. And I personally train them. Ha! Ha ha ha. The future of the abyssal throne, could it be? The Abyss Lord was already lost in his daydreams. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Wait, Dad, this wasn't the deal. I want to come back to the abyss. I want to breathe abyssal energy. I'm sick of listening to the canticles of light every day. 10 more years. The Abyss Lord cut me off, his voice ecstatic. No, maybe not even 10. Once she's showing, once the child is born. My abyssal grandchild. Ha ha. This is a monumental achievement. A massive win for our people. You'll come home and be the next Lord of the Abyss. I don't want to be the Lord. I want to go home. This is an order. Do whatever it takes to get her to bear your child. If necessary, I can even provide covert assistance. The Abyss Lord paused, his tone becoming deadly serious. If you dare screw this up, or try to run away, don't even think about coming home until you've given me an abyssal grandchild. The connection severed. I clutched the black stone, frozen in place. The world seemed to go silent. Junior brother, Ethan. Celeste's voice sounded from just outside my cell. I flinched so hard the copy of the Book of Virtues I was holding fell to the floor with a smack. Why is she back again? I reluctantly opened the door. Celeste stood outside, holding a small, insulated container. I heard you were feeling unwell. I brewed some restorative broth, she said, her tone natural, as if yesterday's world-shattering conversation had never happened. I stared at the container in her hands, my stomach twisting. My dad's orders and the consequences of escape replayed in my mind. Thank you, senior sister, I said dryly, taking the container. It felt as heavy as a block of lead. Have you considered my proposal? She asked, her directness absolutely brutal. My hand shook, nearly dropping the container. As senior sister. I took a deep breath, forcing a smile that was uglier than a grimace. This concerns your entire future. It's not something to be taken lightly. Why don't we start as ordinary friends? Get to know each other better. Stall for time. Stall until my dad comes to his senses. This mission is insane. Celeste looked thoughtful. Get to know each other? Very well. She nodded, not pushing further. Then you will accompany me on a patrol to clear out some monsters at the foot of the mountain today. Huh. The small town below the mountain. The mission. Deal with a troublesome little shadow imp. Celeste didn't even draw her sword. I, on the other hand, was swinging the standard issue long sword the order gave me, hacking away at the inky black creature until I was sweating bullets. My movements were clumsy, my footwork unsteady, a perfect performance of a novice acolyte struggling just to keep up. Brother Ethan, watch your left, Celeste called out. I panicked and blocked, letting one of the imp's claws graze me. A thin, red line appeared on my arm. Brother Ethan, are you all right? Celeste took a step forward. I'm Fina. I waved her off, putting on my best, I may be weak, but I'm tough face. Celeste looked at the cut on my arm, her brow furrowed. The next moment, she raised her hand, and a gentle, pure stream of healing magic flowed into my wound. The cut sealed instantly. But But the moment that healing mana entered my body, it clashed violently with my concealed abyssal energy. I let out a muffled grunt, my face paling as I fought to suppress the surging shadow within me. A coppery taste filled my mouth. Damn it! Celeste's hand was still on my arm. She seemed to notice something, her expression shifting slightly. Your mana. My heart stopped. It's over. She's found me out. Just as I was about to erupt, grabbing for my Voidstone charm for a final desperate fight. Celeste's expression suddenly softened, tinged with a hint of guilt. My apologies, she said softly, withdrawing her hand. I forgot your cultivation is still developing. I pushed my mana into you too quickly and disrupted your channels. She sighed. It seems the matter of bonding our cores does indeed require a more patient approach. Your foundation is stable, but your spiritual channels are not yet strong enough to handle it. We must first strengthen your core. Right? You're right, senior sister. I'm too weak. Unworthy of you. I need more training. The wave of relief left me weak in the knees. But Celeste's gaze was resolute as she looked at me. Don't worry. I will help you. She thought for a moment, then pulled a jade vial from her storage ring and pressed it into my hand. These are core-strengthening pills. One a day. Starting tomorrow, I will personally supervise your training. I clutched the vial of high-grade celestial pills, looking at this prodigy who was now determined to support her future partner. The Abyss Lord's face, screaming, "Do whatever it takes to get her pregnant," flashed before my eyes. My vision swam. This spy gig is impossible. I held the vial of core-strengthening pills like it was a live grenade. Celeste's gaze was clear and determined, filled with a terrifying resolve that screamed, "I will mold you into a partner worthy of me." My father's roars still echoed in my head. Whatever it takes. Get her pregnant. My throat was dry. Senior sister, actually, I... Say no more, Celeste interrupted, her tone leaving no room for argument. Tomorrow, at the third bell before dawn, meet me on the training grounds. I will teach you how to circulate your energy to absorb the pill's power. The third bell before dawn is at a time a self-respecting shade should be awake. That's when I secretly use my memory shard to re-watch the Abyss Dance Troupe's performances. Senior sister, that's too much trouble for you. I can train on my own. It's no trouble. Celeste turned away, her hair swinging in a decisive arc. For you, it's worth it. I watched her walk away, then my legs gave out and I slumped against my cell door. It's over. This is really, truly over. Third bell before dawn. The training grounds were as cold as a tomb. I was yawning so hard my jaw creaked, hugging myself to keep from shivering. Celeste appeared right on time, dressed in a simple white training uniform, looking sharp and full of energy. Take the pill, she commanded. I resignedly swallowed a core-strengthening pill. As it dissolved, a gentle but immense wave of celestial mana exploded inside me, washing through my spiritual channels. It felt good, but it was like oil and water with my hidden abyssal energy. I had to desperately suppress my own power to keep them from starting a war in my gut. Focus. Guide the energy to your core, Celeste said, placing a hand on my back. I went rigid. Her mana was too pure, too potent. Everywhere it passed, my hidden abyssal energy recoiled like it had met its natural enemy, thrashing wildly, almost breaking free of my control. Sweat beaded on my forehead. I clenched my jaw, using every ounce of my acting skill to play the part of a diligent but untalented disciple struggling to absorb the medicine. Relax, Celeste frowned. Your channels, why are they so constricted? I was born this way. She pondered this for a moment, then increased the flow of her mana. Help! I can't hold it back. The massive surge of her power, by some cosmic fluke, dragged the pill's energy with it and forcibly blasted open a tiny, minor spiritual channel I'd never been able to access before. Boom! A feeling of incredible relief washed over me. In this newly opened channel, the celestial mana and my hidden abyssal energy reached a bizarre equilibrium, coexisting without conflict. They almost seemed compatible. Celeste withdrew her hand, nodding with satisfaction. It seems this method is effective. Progress may be slow, but with persistence, we can surely improve your innate talent. I felt this strange channel inside me, capable of holding both light and shadow, and just stared blankly. What is this? A trial run for celestial abyssal dual cultivation? Dad, we have a situation. I whispered into my sending stone, huddled under my blankets. "Speak," the Abyss Lord replied. He sounded busy. I could hear the roar of a demon beast and the crack of a whip in the background. "Celeste is forcing me to practice celestial techniques. She's using her own mana to clear my channels." I was almost exposed. The Abyss Lord went quiet. And the result, she seems to have opened some weird channel in me, and now my abyssal energy can coexist with her mana. My father was silent for another moment, then burst into roaring laughter. "Huh, the heavens are on our side. Kiddo, you truly are the chosen one of spies, to accidentally forge a path of compatibility. This is the first step to true bonding. Excellent. Keep letting her help you train. Learn the properties of her mana. It will be easier to control her later." "Is control the point?" I hissed. "The point is, if this keeps up, I might actually become half a celestial adept." Silence. "Stick to the plan. Gain her trust. Get her pregnant. Whatever resources you need, I'll have them sent to you covertly." The connection cut. I hopelessly pounded my bed. Celeste's partner support program was now in full swing. Besides the pre-dawn training, she started giving me private lessons. "Junior brother, copy this Sutra of the Clear Mind 100 times. It will help strengthen your consciousness." I stared at the thick stack of paper, my vision blurring. This stuff was way worse than the Litany of Serenity. "Junior brother, these are sustenance pills I refined. From now on, you can focus on your training without being distracted by trivial matters like eating." I looked at the bitter-smelling pills she offered, my stomach churning. I wanted grilled bloodbat wings. "Junior brother, spar with me. Real combat is the only way to test your progress. I'd be knocked flat with my wooden sword in less than 3 moves, and then I'd have to force a look of admiration and say, 'Wow, senior sister, you're amazing. I learned so much.' The nicer she was to me, the more terrified I became. The Abyss Lord's messages also became more frequent and increasingly unhinged. 'Kiddo, how's it going? Is she showing any signs of intimacy?' I found an ancient dual cultivation manual. It's been delivered to your cell. Look under your pillow. Study it well." I found the jade slip, which radiated a sinister abyssal aura, and threw it into a corner like it was radioactive. What she found this thing? "I've mixed a special abyssal passion fruit, a potent aphrodisiac, into the next batch of pills she gives you. Seize the opportunity." I nearly had a heart attack. I frantically dumped out the new pills from Celeste, inspecting each one until I found one that smelled suspiciously sweet. I disposed of it immediately. "Dad, are you trying to get me killed? I can't do this anymore." I was slumped in a corner of the alchemy lab, tasked with watching the fire for a high-level potion Celeste was brewing. I was physically and mentally exhausted. Both the forces of light and shadow were tormenting me. I felt like I was developing a split personality. Celeste walked over and handed me a cup of spirit tea. "Tired?" I shot up reflexively. "Not at all. It's an honor to serve you, senior sister." She looked at the dark circles under my eyes and fell silent for a moment. "Perhaps I've been pushing you too hard lately." I was on the verge of tears. "Not at all, senior sister. It's my own lack of talent. I've disappointed you." "That's not it." She shook her head gently, her eyes holding something new as she looked at me. "Though your progress is slow, your resilience is far beyond that of an ordinary person. You train relentlessly every day without a single complaint." "I'm just trying to stay alive, lady." And her tone softened. "You are sincere, simple, and kind." My dad would literally die laughing if he heard that. The fire crackled in the furnace. She suddenly asked in a low voice, "Ethan, do you truly not wish to bond with me?" I nearly sprayed a mouthful of tea, choking and coughing. Here it is. The fatal question again. My brain spun, desperately searching for an answer that wouldn't offend her or disobey the Abyss Lord. I just feel unworthy," I stammered. "What if I told you I don't care about any of that?" She looked at me, her gaze intense. "I only ask you this. Do you dislike me?" "No, absolutely not," I declared instantly. "Dislike? I'm terrified of you." "Then that settles it." She seemed to let out a breath of relief, the corner of her mouth twitching into the faintest of smiles. "Feelings can be nurtured over time. We have a long road ahead of us." She turned back to the furnace, leaving me with the sight of her elegant back. I stood frozen, the cup of tea in my hand growing cold. Nurtured over time? A long road ahead. My dad's roars and Celeste's quiet voice battled in my head. I watched her, and for the first time, a ridiculous thought entered my mind. This celestial prodigy. She actually seems to think I'm not half bad? Oh no, I think I'm in serious trouble. The old man's message came again, this time exceptionally furious. Where's the child? Where is my abyssal grandchild? It's been this long, and there's no progress. Are you defying my orders? I clutched the black stone, feeling drained. Dad, you can't force these things. I don't care if it's forced, as long as it gets the job done. I'm giving you 3 days. If you don't make a move, I'm sending a rival to spur her on, or maybe I'll send you some inspirational abyssal incense. I was so scared, I nearly threw the stone away. Don't. Calm down. I'm trying. Really. These things take time. Time for what? Just do it. Get it over with. The connection cut. I squatted in a corner of my cell, holding my head in my hands, feeling like my demonic life was over. Junior brother, Ethan. Celeste's voice, tinged with a rare hint of hesitation, came from outside the door. I flinched, quickly sweeping the various inappropriate jade slips and inspirational pills my dad had sent me under the bed. Come in, senior's sister. Celeste pushed the door open. She wasn't holding any pills or training manuals. She looked at me, her gaze a little unfocused, the tips of her ears slightly pink. So, I was studying some ancient texts recently. She began, her voice softer than usual, and I found a method of dual cultivation. My scalp tingled. Again, it's not the usual kind, she added quickly. It's called a soul link resonance. It doesn't require physical contact, just a merging of consciousness and an exchange of mana. It's highly beneficial for both parties and can also deepen our understanding of each other. She turned her face away slightly after she finished. I stood there stunned. Merging of consciousness? Mana exchange? That sounded a lot less terrifying. At least it was more civilized than my dad's crude suggestions. And this seemed like the only way to fulfill my dad's nurture feelings directive and keep my head on my shoulders for a while longer. I swallowed hard, cautiously asking, is this method safe? Of course it is. Celeste turned back, her expression serious. Would I ever harm you? Fair point. So, shall we try? I said, steeling myself. Dad, this is the progress you wanted. Celeste's eyes lit up slightly. All right. We sat cross-legged, facing each other. A wisp of pure white light coalesced at her fingertip, and she slowly pressed it toward the spot between my eyebrows. I held my breath, tensing up, desperately suppressing the restless abyssal energy inside me. Her consciousness, gentle yet irresistible, softly entered mine. In that instant, I felt like I had plunged into a cool, clear lake. I was surrounded by pure, celestial mana, vast and serene. My abyssal energy thrashed violently in this lake, like ice cubes thrown into hot oil. I'm going to be exposed. I fought to suppress it, almost coughing up blood. Just as I was about to lose control, the bizarre channel that Celeste had accidentally opened, the one that could handle both light and shadow, suddenly activated on its own. The thrashing abyssal energy found an outlet, flowing smoothly down that channel, where it began to slowly merge with Celeste's consciousness and mana. A strange and incredible sensation washed over me. It was an intermingling of ice and fire, both repelling and attracting each other. Her mana was cool and pure. Mine was hot and volatile. But under that bizarre equilibrium, they produced a sense of indescribable pleasure. I could even faintly perceive Celeste's emotions, seriousness, focus, and a hint of cautious anticipation. She seemed to pause for a moment, frowning slightly. Your mana. It seems different from what the text described. Quite peculiar. My heart hammered. Is it? Maybe my talent is just so poor that my mana is impure. She was silent for a moment, then pushed her consciousness a little deeper. The compatible channel spun faster. The sensation of ice and fire merging grew more intense. It was so pleasant I almost moaned. It's fine, she finally said, her tone curious. Though peculiar, it is surprisingly compatible. Let's continue. The first soul link resonance ended. I was completely drained, as if I'd just fought a major battle. My back was soaked with sweat, but the mana and abyssal energy inside me had actually become a little more consolidated. Celeste's expression was normal, but her eyes were shining. This method truly is beneficial for you, she said, her voice filled with the joy of discovery. We will continue tomorrow. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. My father was ecstatic when he received the report. Soul link resonance. A merging of consciousness. Excellent. This is the perfect way to control her mind. Kiddo, get in there. Find all her weaknesses. Make her fall completely for you. That seems a bit. A bit what? This is a godsend. I'm sending you a set of Mindweaver runes. Plant them in her consciousness while you're linked. I chose to ignore him. The soul link resonance became a daily routine. Celeste was incredibly enthusiastic about it, far more than I was. Each time we linked our minds, the strange, pleasant sensation of ice and fire grew stronger. My cultivation, on the celestial side, actually began to slowly improve. The compatible channel grew stronger and wider. Once, I relaxed too much, and a tiny wisp of abyssal energy slipped through the connection. I freaked out, but Celeste just made a quizzical sound. I just felt a strange, hot energy. A new insight of yours. Yes, that's it. Just a new idea. Hot, cold sweat trickled down my spine. She didn't press further, instead guiding that wisp of shadow into the cycle. Though peculiar, it suits you well. You should explore it. Life continued in this state of extreme tension and strangely pleasant dual cultivation. I think I was starting to get used to it, even starting to look forward to that brief moment of ice and fire each day. Oh no. Ethan, you're done for. You haven't just physically betrayed your people. Your mind is being assimilated. One day, deep into resonance, a wave of pleasure, stronger than ever before, washed over me. I lost myself for a moment and couldn't help but let out a soft hum. A very quiet sound. Across from me, Celeste flinched, instantly withdrawing her consciousness. I opened my eyes to see her cheeks flushed, her gaze darting away from mine in a panic. That's enough for today. She stood up and practically fled. I sat there, frozen, then slowly raised a hand to cover my face. Damn it. I think I pushed things a little too far. After Celeste fled, she didn't come looking for me for 3 whole days. I paced my cell like a caged animal. Did she finally detect my abyssal energy? Did she think I was being lewd? Or was she just embarrassed? My father's messages were driving me insane. Why hasn't she come? Did you screw it up? My plans for an abyssal grandchild. Maybe I was just too focused on my training and scared her? The old man scoffed. Nonsense. It's because you weren't proactive enough. Go. Find her. Now. Use the gaze of enthrallment I sent you last time. Give her a look she can't resist. I glanced in the mirror at my own eyes, bloodshot from staying up all night studying the Litany of Serenity, and figured my dad had a skewed idea of irresistible. On the 4th day, I forced myself to go to the alchemy lab. Sure enough, Celeste was there, staring blankly at a furnace, the fire inside nearly extinguished. Isha Ferdolvif, senior sister? She jolted back to reality. When she saw it was me, a blush immediately colored her cheeks, and her eyes darted away. Junior brother Ethan. The atmosphere was so awkward you could cut it with a knife. I clear my throat. So, the soul link resonance. Are we still doing that? Her fingers curled slightly, her eyes downcast. What do you think of the method? My mind instantly flashed to the sensation of ice and fire, to her fleeing figure, and the words tumbled out before I could stop them. It's great. Especially the pleasure. The moment I said it, I want to slap myself. What kind of degenerate line was that? The tips of Celeste's ears turned even redder. She shot me a quick glance, her voice barely a whisper. MM. MM? What does MM mean? I stood there, frozen, not knowing whether to advance or retreat. She was silent for a moment, then took a deep breath as if steeling herself. She looked up at me, her gaze returning to its usual clarity, but now with a new kind of determination. In that case, tonight, at midnight, meet me at the meditation cliff on the back mountain. The mana there is richer, more beneficial for our training. Midnight? The back mountain? The time and place sounded a little. Her gaze flickered away. Fewer people. Midnight meditation cliff. Dark moon, high winds, a man and a woman, all alone. I was so nervous my palms were sweating. This whole scene didn't feel like a proper training session. Celeste, however, was quite calm. She set up a privacy ward. Let's begin. Our consciousnesses merged once again. Perhaps it was the quiet environment, or perhaps our mindsets were different, but this time, the sensation was exceptionally intense. The clash of ice and fire was clearer, bringing not just pleasure, but an indescribable thrill and a sense of palpitation. I could perceive her emotions more clearly, a hint of nervousness, a great deal of focus, and some kind of soft, burning anticipation. The compatible channel activated on its own, its flow more powerful than ever before. Her mana and my abyssal energy intertwined, creating a strange, electrifying bliss that made my scalp tingle. I couldn't help but let out another soft hum, catching it in my throat. Celeste's eyelashes fluttered violently, but she didn't withdraw her consciousness. Instead, she pushed deeper, a gentle, probing tendril wrapping around my own. This is dangerous. Just as I was about to lose myself completely, she suddenly let out a muffled groan, her body swaying slightly. I snapped back to reality, pulling my consciousness back. Senior sister? Her face was a little pale, and a fine sheen of sweat had appeared on her brow. It's nothing. I just expended a bit too much mana today. I then remembered she had just finished refining a high-level potion during the day. Looking at her slightly exhausted state, my heart twisted unexpectedly. On a whim, I blurted out, maybe I should take the lead next time. The moment the words left my mouth, we both froze. Me take the lead? With my half-assed celestial mana mixed with my cancel light of day abyssal energy, but Celeste's eyes lit up with a hint of curiosity and trust? You can't. I was in too deep to back out now. I can try. The second time, I led the resonance. This was like dancing on a razor's edge. I carefully guided a wisp of my purest celestial mana, desperately suppressing the volatile abyssal energy beneath it toward her. Her consciousness met mine without any defense, gently accepting it. An indescribable feeling washed over me. Her inner world was vast, clear, and warm, like a snowfield bathed in sunlight. And my tiny bit of power was like a drop of ink falling onto pure white snow. I was so afraid of tainting this purity that my movements were incredibly stiff. Relax, she guided softly, her consciousness actively wrapping around mine in encouragement. Follow my lead. Her trust was like a warm current, melting away my tension. I slowly relaxed, guiding that wisp of power through her spiritual channels. Strangely, when I stopped actively suppressing it, my hidden abyssal energy became unusually docile. Under the guidance of her pure mana, it even took on a faint, gentle quality. Ice and fire no longer clashed violently, but merged into a gentle, flowing stream. An unprecedented sense of peace and harmony enveloped us. When we finished, we were both silent for a long time. Celeste's complexion had returned to a healthy pink, her eyes shining with the joy of discovering a hidden treasure. Ethan, your mana, it's very special. It's incredibly compatible with mine. I looked at her bright, untroubled smile, and the guilt in my heart grew wildly. Senior sister, my throat was dry. What if I'm not as good as you think? What if I'm actually a little bit bad? She paused, then smiled, her tone softer than ever before. Then be bad. I'll be bad with you. Celeste's voice was soft, but exploded in my ears like thunder. I stared into her clear eyes, which reflected my own dumbfounded expression. Be bad with me? Lady, your character is completely collapsing. The old man's roar conveniently echoed in my mind. Yes. Excellent. She's completely smitten. Strike while the iron is hot. Seal the deal tonight. I grant you. I decisively cut off the connection. I couldn't let that old degenerate mess things up even more. You're joking, senior sister, I said with a dry laugh, trying to steer the conversation back to safer territory. We should probably focus on our training. Celeste was agreeable. All right. The subsequent soul link resonances became increasingly dangerous. Not the danger of me being exposed, but a different kind. Her consciousness became less and less restrained. Before, she would properly guide the mana circulation. Now, her consciousness would always probe and entwine with mine, a subtle, teasing touch against my senses. The compatible channel was overly active, each resonance sending a jolt of electrifying numbness through me. I kept telling myself this was training. It was the mission, but my body would tense up uncontrollably, and the muffled groans I was suppressing became more frequent. Celeste seemed to enjoy it. She even started to innovate. Ethan, today let's try focusing the mana in our energy centers. Ethan, try splitting your consciousness, one part guiding the yang energy, the other the yin. Ethan. I was like a puppet on a string, being directed by her, yet every innovation brought a more intense, more irresistible sensation. How did this celestial prodigy become more daring in her study of dual cultivation than the Abyss Lord himself? One day, She brought a pale blue jade slip. "This is my modified version of the Soul Link resonance," she said, her tone casual, though the tips of her ears were pink. "I've added a bit of a soul touch technique. It might be more effective." Soul touch? What's the difference between that and a naked spiritual hug? My scalp tingled. "Senior sister, isn't that a bit too? Are you scared?" She looked up, her gaze clear but with a faint hint of a challenge. "Who's scared? Let's do it." A man's pride and the old man's mission were not to be trifled with. Our consciousnesses merged once again. This time, it was completely different. Her consciousness was no longer simply guiding, but had a soft, almost tangible touch, gently enveloping mine. It was like being submerged in a warm spring. Every inch of my senses caressed. A shiver ran from the base of my spine to the top of my head. I let out a muffled groan, almost losing my composure. Her consciousness trembled slightly, but didn't retreat. Instead, it pressed closer, responding with a clumsy yet firm touch. The pale blue jade slip began to glow, enveloping us both. The circulation of mana and abyssal energy suddenly accelerated. The compatible channel burned hot, spewing forth a shockingly powerful force. "Ethan," she suddenly called my name, her consciousness conveying a mix of panic and desire. "My mana. It's a little out of control." Only then did I realize that her mana was being crazily drawn into the compatible channel, converted into a purer, more powerful energy, and then fed back to her. The process was extremely stimulating. Her body trembled, her cheeks were flushed, her breathing ragged. I was about to explode myself. This modified Soul Link resonance was a bit too effective. If this continued, something bad was going to happen. I tried to forcefully disconnect, but she subconsciously wrapped her consciousness around mine. "Don't. Stop." Her voice was soft and shaky, laced with an unbearable tremor. My mind went blank. The last thread of my rationality snapped. To hell with the Undercover mission. To hell with the Abyss Lord. To hell with the Canticles of Light. I took control, my consciousness tightening fiercely, completely enveloping hers. Mana and abyssal energy boiled over, rushing to a climax. Boom! A powerful shockwave erupted from us, making the privacy ward hum and vibrate. An old tree on the cliff edge was hit by the stray energy. Half of it was covered in frost, the other half was charred black. We opened our eyes at the same time, panting, drenched in sweat. Celeste's eyes were glistening, her lips a deep red. She looked at me, her gaze dazed and shocked. "What was that?" I looked at her disheveled state, feeling incredibly guilty. Probably a sign of mastering the technique. She blinked, then slowly lowered her head, pursing her lips. She said very quietly. Her neck was completely red. The air was thick with an extremely awkward yet intensely intimate atmosphere. I didn't know what to do with my hands or feet. "That's enough for today." She stood up, her voice still a bit shaky. She didn't dare look at me and quickly walked away. She didn't flee this time, but her steps were clearly unsteady. I collapsed on the spot, looking at the half-frozen, half-charred tree, wanting to cry. The old man's sending stone vibrated wildly. I answered, feeling completely numb. "What was that noise? Did you do it? Did you seal the deal?" I felt an extremely strong convergence of yin and yang. "Good boy. Well done. If I told you we were just training, would you believe me?" The old man cackled. "Of course I believe you. Good boy. Keep training. With more intensity. Whatever resources you need, just ask. I'll send you the best restorative herbs from the abyss." The connection cut. I stared at the sky and sighed deeply. This undercover mission has gone completely off the rails. The old man's restorative herbs arrived the next day. Disguised as ordinary core-strengthening pills, their potency was like a dragon ramming into my heart. Less than 15 minutes after I took one, my blood was boiling, the compatible channel was burning hot, and my vision was tinged with red. Even the sight of Celeste setting up the privacy ward seemed sharper, more defined. "Ethan," Celeste turned, looking at me with confusion. "Why is your aura so agitated?" I clenched my jaw, chanting the litany of serenity in my head. "And nothing. The pill is just really strong." She frowned, placing a fingertip on my wrist. A cool stream of mana flowed into me. The cool touch on my burning channels was so stimulating I flinched, nearly jumping to my feet. "Your mana." Her expression changed. "Why is it so volatile?" I couldn't very well tell her my dad had drugged me, could I? Maybe. It's a side effect from the last Soul Link resonance. I rambled. Celeste considered this. An imbalance of yin and yang is possible. Today, I will use my yin energy to harmonize you. She moved closer, her cool breath brushing against my neck. My throat went dry. My dad's voice echoed in my head. More intensity. Oh no, this pill, plus her, this is going to be a disaster. The moment our consciousnesses merged, I knew I was in trouble. The pill's power exploded in the compatible channel. My consciousness, like an untamed horse, was several times more wild than usual, fiercely latching onto hers. Celeste was caught off guard, letting out a soft her body going limp. Ethan, you. Her voice trembled, not with fear, but with a strange mix of shock and curiosity. Her consciousness instinctively responded, intertwining with my searing power. Ice and fire clashed and merged with unprecedented intensity. The privacy ward around the meditation cliff flickered violently, almost shattering. The half-frozen, half-charred tree was completely vaporized. I desperately held onto my last shred of sanity, trying to pull back. But she grabbed my wrist, her fingertips cool, her voice breaking. Don't. Stop. This method seems to be helping me break through. Lady, get a grip. This is a plot by the Abyss Lord, but she clearly wasn't thinking straight. Her eyes were glistening as she actively guided that rampant energy to assault her bottleneck. Boom! The mana around her surged violently, her aura climbing higher and higher. She was actually breaking through on the spot. A massive wave of mana poured back into me, making my vision go black. The compatible channel ached, on the verge of rupturing. The effects of my dad's stupid pill were finally washed away by this surge of power. I collapsed to the ground like a limp rag. Celeste slowly opened her eyes, her aura much stronger. She looked at me with joyful surprise. Ethan, you helped me break through to the late stage of mastery. I weakly waved a hand, unable to speak. She leaned over me, her hair brushing against my cheek, her voice softer than ever before. Thank you. I stared at her lips, so close to mine, my head buzzing. Senior sister. Next time, can you give me a heads up before you break through? I gasped. She pursed her lips in a smile, a hint of mischief in her eyes. I got carried away. My dad was so happy when he heard the news that his sending stone was practically shaking. A breakthrough is good. A breakthrough is good. The higher her cultivation, the more talented my abyssal grandchild will be. Kiddo, I'm putting this down as a major contribution. I'll reward you with 10 more vials of Dragon's Vigor pills. My vision went dark. That's enough. Seriously, any more and you'll kill me. What are you afraid of? I believe in you. Keep up the good work. Next time, help her break through to the Grandmaster stage. I smashed the sending stone. I can't do this job anymore. After a breakthrough, Celeste became even more attentive to me. Ethan, you've helped me so much. Here's a heart-protecting pill it just refined. It will help stabilize your mind. Ethan, the cold spring on the back mountain is good for calming the spirit. I've cleared the area for you to use. Ethan, I looked at the various pills and gestures of concern, and the guilt in my heart was about to drown me. I even started to question my entire existence. Am I really an undercover agent? Why does it feel more like I'm a kept man? A kept man being personally fed by celestial prodigy, and this lifestyle is actually pretty nice. No, Ethan, you're a shade. Stick to your principles. I steeled myself, pulled out the Book of Virtues, and prepared to copy it 10 times to clear my head. Just as I wrote the first word, Celeste's voice came from outside. Ethan, the moon is beautiful tonight. Would you care to join me on the meditation cliff for a discussion of the Tao? I threw down my pen. Coming, senior sister. The Book of Virtues? What Book of Virtues? Is it really being a kept man if you're doing it for the cause? This is deep infiltration, a roundabout way to save my people. Yeah, that's it. Saving my people. Our discussion of the Tao lasted late into the night. Mostly Celeste did the discussing, and I did the think. She talked about the universal principles, and I nodded along. She explained the circulation of spiritual channels, and I agreed. When she got to a key point, she looked at me with shining eyes. Ethan, what do you think? You're absolutely right, senior sister. She pursed her lips in a smile. You're always so earnest. I smiled back like a simpleton, while internally I was screaming. Earnest my ass. My entire brain is occupied with figuring out how to trick you into coming to the abyss to have a baby. Though at this point, it seems like tricking won't be necessary. On the way back, she walked with a light step, humming a little tune. I followed behind her, my feelings as jumbled as my dad's alchemy furnace, a chaotic mix of everything. As we neared my cell, she suddenly stopped and turned. I almost walked right into her. "Ethan," she said very softly, "being with you, it's nice." The moonlight cast a soft glow on her face, making her look impossibly gentle. My heart skipped a beat. I think it's nice too," I replied dryly. She smiled, then turned and walked away quickly, the hem of her dress swirling. I stared after her until she disappeared. "It's over, Ethan. I think. You're falling for her." The old man's message was as relentless as ever. "How'd it go? Did you discuss the Tao tonight?" I sensed a strong mana fluctuation from Meditation Cliff. "Another breakthrough," I replied with a deadpan expression. "It was a pure discussion of the Tao tonight. No braxits." The old man fumed. "Useless. What good are you? I'll give you another." I quickly cut him off. "Slow and steady wins the race. You have to build up to it. Pushing too hard could backfire." The Abyss Lord was silent for a moment, apparently finding some logic in my words. "Fine. Then, nurture the relationship more. I've had my minions gather some mortal romance novels. They've been delivered to your cell. Study their techniques of courtship. Help me." Celeste started taking me on training expeditions outside the Order. Ostensibly, it was to consolidate my cultivation and gain practical experience. But I suspect she just wanted an excuse to spend time with me. Mission: eliminate a river demon that was terrorizing the area. Celeste froze 100 miles of the river with a single sword strike, then casually plucked the hiding demon out and turned it into an ice sculpture. Her movements were fluid and graceful, a true picture of heroic power. I stood by her side with my sword, looking like a glorified cheerleader. "Ethan," she sheathed her sword, looking at me with an expectant gaze. "Did you see that 1,000-mile freeze technique clearly?" "I saw it. You were amazing, senior sister." She frowned. Did you gain any insight?" "I did. Freezing the river demon is both eco-friendly and energy efficient." She just stared at me. Then she turned away, her shoulders shaking slightly. On the next mission, she changed her approach. "Ethan, this time, you will be the main attacker. I will support you." I looked at the snarling, armored stone bear, my legs turning to jelly. "Senior sister, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think I can beat it." "Don't worry." Her tone was firm. "I'm here." I charged forward, my swordplay a mess. The bear swatted me away like a fly. Celeste flew in and caught me. A flash of white light from her sleeve, and the bear was instantly petrified, then crumbled into a pile of dust. She looked down at me with concern. "Are you hurt?" I was nestled in her arms, my nose filled with her cool, clean scent, my head spinning. "And no, I'm fine." She checked me over carefully before letting me go, a hint of an exasperated smile in her voice. "Your swordsmanship. I think I'll have to teach you myself from now on." "Okay." She really did start teaching me, hand over hand. From the most basic thrust, parry, and block. Lower your wrist. Channel your energy to the tip of the sword. Her breath tickled my ear as her hand gently adjusted my grip. My whole body was stiff, the sword tip trembling. "Relax," she whispered, her fingers accidentally brushing the back of my hand. My sword clattered to the ground. She bent to pick it up and handed it back to me, her eyes sparkling. "Why are you so nervous? It's not like I'm going to eat you." "I'm not so sure about that." My dad was thrilled when he heard the news. "Excellent. Hand-over-hand sword practice. That's physical contact. A major step forward. Kiddo, confess your feelings. Seal the deal. Isn't that a bit too fast?" The old man scoffed. "Fast? By your age, I had a whole litter of demonic children. Here, this is Demon's Heart Truth Serum. A drop in her wine, and she'll pour her heart out to you." I stared at the vial of bubbling pink liquid in my hand, my head throbbing. Could I really use this on her? That evening, Celeste invited me for a drink, saying she'd acquired a fine vintage of Glowvine wine. I stared at the wine jug, then at the Heart Truth Serum, torn. Finally, I made up my mind. When she wasn't looking, I poured the serum into my own cup. I couldn't bring myself to drug her, but I could drug myself. A few cups later, my vision started to blur. I was seeing 3 Celestes. "Ethan." She waved a hand in front of my face. "Is your tolerance for alcohol really this low?" I grabbed her wrist, my gaze locked on her. "Senior sister." "Yes. You're really beautiful. Celeste froze, a blush creeping up her cheeks. You're drunk. I'm not drunk, I retorted loudly, leaning closer and lowering my voice conspiratorially. Senior sister, I'll tell you a secret. She raised an eyebrow. What secret? I hiccuped, my eyes glazed over. I really like practicing the sword with you. And, with that, my head slumped forward and hit the stone table with a thud. I was out cold. Just before I passed out completely, I thought I heard her laugh, very softly. Idiot. I woke up with a splitting headache. I was lying on the bed in my cell. My outer robe had been taken off, and my shoes were neatly placed by the bedside. A bowl of sobering soup, still warm, sat on the table. I stared at the soup, fragmented memories flashing in my mind. Me grabbing Celeste's hand and telling her she was beautiful, and that I liked practicing with her. Damn it. That stupid serum from my dad. I groaned, covering my face. I'd made a complete fool of myself. The door to my cell creaked open. Celeste came in with a plate of spirit fruit. She paused when she saw me, but her expression remained calm. You're awake? Does your head still hurt? I burrowed under the covers, leaving only my eyes visible. It's fine. Senior sister, last night, I didn't say anything too stupid, did I? She set the plate down, her gaze drifting elsewhere. You said I was beautiful, and that you like practicing the sword with me. I pulled the covers over my head completely. I could never show my face again. I heard a soft chuckle from outside my blanket cocoon. She came over and tugged at the corner of the covers. Since you like it so much, we'll continue today. This has to be a punishment, right? On the training grounds. I held my sword, my body stiff. Celeste stood behind me, almost embracing me, her hand covering mine to adjust my posture. Focus, her breath whispered past my ear. I couldn't focus. Her hair brushed against my neck, tickling me. Her faint, cool scent filled my senses. My sword dropped again. She bent to pick it up. I stared at the pale, slender nape of her neck, my heart pounding. My dad's roars and her soft laughter battled in my head. Ethan, she straightened up, handing me the sword, her eyes shining. You've been very distracted lately. I opened my mouth but couldn't speak. Was I supposed to tell her I was torn between tricking her into having my child and genuinely falling for her? She sighed, her tone softening. Are you hitting a bottleneck in your training? Or are you tired of practicing with me? I looked up sharply. No, absolutely not. Then why? She frowned. My brain overheated, and I blurted out, because you're too beautiful. When you're this close, I get nervous. The moment I said it, I wanted to take it back. Celeste froze. Then a blush slowly crept up from her neck to her ears. She turned her head slightly, but the corner of her mouth curved into a small smile. You smooth talker. She didn't force me to practice anymore, just stood by and gave instructions. But the atmosphere was even thicker than before. My dad's message came again. The drunken confession worked wonders. I'll reward you with 10 more vials of Heart Truth serum. Drink with her every night. I stared at the pile of pink, bubbly vials, my scalp tingling. No way. Any more of that, and someone's going to get hurt. What are you afraid of? I'll teach you. Next time, just say, I'm in love with you. Seal the deal. It's impossible to communicate with this old demon. That night, I was agonizing over the vials of serum. Throw them away? My dad might sense it. Use them? I might spill my entire life story. As I was debating, there was a knock on my door. Celeste stood outside, holding 2 jugs of wine. I got a new vintage today, her eyes sparkled. Care to try? I looked at the wine in her hands, then at the serum on my table, and for some reason, I nodded. This time, I was on high alert. I didn't touch a drop of wine, just watch her drink. Her tolerance wasn't much better than mine. After a few cups, her cheeks were flushed, her eyes misty. Ethan, she rested her chin on her hand, looking at me. Why? Are you always avoiding me? My heart skipped a beat. I'm not. You are. She leaned closer, her breath smelling of wine. You avoid me during practice. You avoid me when we drink. Am I that scary? Not all. I shrank back. You're wonderful, senior sister. Then you must dislike me? I don't. I said quickly. I like being with you. She grew quiet, watching me for a long time. So long I thought she had fallen asleep. Suddenly, she asked softly, what kind of like? I froze. Her eyes were hazy, but she stared at me stubbornly, waiting for an answer. The vials of serum on the table seemed to be burning hot. My throat was dry, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it would jump out of my chest. My dad's roars and her gaze tore me in two. Finally, I heard my own voice, hoarse but clear. The kind of like where you want someone to be your partner for life. After I said it, I closed my eyes, waiting for the verdict. A long silence followed. No gasp, no scolding. Just a very soft, relieved sigh. Then a warm, soft touch landed on the corner of my mouth, there and gone in an instant. My eyes shot open. Celeste had already pulled back, her face bright red, but her eyes were shining. She stood up, a little unsteady on her feet. The wine is good. With that, she quickly walked away. I clutched the corner of my mouth, completely petrified. What just happened? The old man's sending stone vibrated madly, erupting in a series of roars. I felt it, an extremely strong, emotional fluctuation. Did you kiss? You kissed her, didn't you? Good boy. Well done. My abyssal grandchild is within reach. I just stared blankly, touching my lips, ignoring him. It felt like a faint, warm, tingling sensation was still there. The dead deer that had been lying in my heart for 20 years suddenly twitched. I clutched my mouth, pacing around my cell 3 times. The old man's stone was still buzzing. Details. I want details. I grabbed the stone and managed to say, we just kissed a little. A little. How'd you kiss? What position? How long? Was there any tongue? I cut off the connection and shoved the stone under the deepest part of my pillow. My mind was filled with that fleeting touch. Warm, soft, with the sweet scent of Glowvine wine. It wasn't half bad. No, Ethan, you're an undercover agent. She's the target. How can you think it wasn't half bad? I furiously began to copy the litany of serenity. Halfway through, my pen stopped. The page was covered with the name Celeste. Damn it. The next day, I didn't know how to act around Celeste. She, on the other hand, was composed, though the tips of her ears remained stubbornly red. Today's training. She began, her voice softer than usual. Right, I replied, my voice cracking. Meditation cliff. The privacy ward went up. The atmosphere was even thicker than before. When our consciousnesses merged, the usual sensation of ice and fire was inexplicably mixed with a cloying sweetness. Her consciousness gently wrapped around mine, with a hint of shy probing. My abyssal energy stirred, not with rejection, but with a kind of excitement. When we finished, we were both panting, avoiding each other's eyes. So, about yesterday, I couldn't help myself. She quickly cut me off. Training requires focus. Don't dwell on trivial matters. Trivial matters. Kissing me is a trivial matter. A lump of indignation formed in my chest. She glanced at me, the corner of her mouth twitching up, then quickly straightened. We'll talk about it later. Later? Which later? My mind buzzed. I was completely lost. The old man keenly sensed the progress. The time is ripe. Kiddo, tonight, form a dual cultivation pact with her. I've sent the twin flame goo. Have her ingest the lesser worm, and from now on, her body and soul will be bound to you, never to betray you. I stared at the pair of wriggling black worms in my hand, my stomach churning. Dad, this is too much. Those who seek greatness cannot be bothered by trifles. Go. I clutched the worms, torn. That evening, Celeste came to deliver some pills. I stared at her pale hand, my heart pounding. Senior sister. I took out the lesser worm, my palms sweating. This is a spirit pet I found. It's supposed to improve one's health. She looked down at the worm and raised an eyebrow. A goo worm? My scalp prickled. She recognized it. It looks rather unique. She actually reached out and touched the worm. It curled up obediently on her fingertip. You're giving it to me? I forced myself to say, yes. All right. She took the lesser worm. A flash of white light from her fingertip, and the worm transformed into a black tattoo on her wrist. I was dumbfounded. She just did it. She looked up at me, her eyes clear. Where's yours? Huh? Twin flame goo must be used in pairs, no? She tilted her head. Where's the primary worm? I was completely stunned. She not only recognized it, she knew how it worked. I tremblingly took out the primary worm. She took it, another flash of white light, and the worm became a tattoo on my wrist. The twin tattoos flashed once, then disappeared. A strange connection was instantly formed. I could clearly feel her emotions, a calm with a hint of amusement. There, her tone was light. From now on, our lives are linked for better or for worse. I looked at the spot where the tattoo had disappeared on her wrist, my throat dry. Senior sister, why would you? She suddenly stepped forward and gently hugged me, because her voice was a warm breath against my ear. I love you too, you idiot. I stood there, frozen, my mind a complete blank. The old man's maniacal laughter exploded in my head. Success. Ha! My abyssal grandchild. Wait a minute. Why is the goo link reversed? How come she seems to be influencing your emotions? I felt a sudden rush of soft, burning joy that wasn't my own, and slowly raised my arms to hug her back. I'm so screwed, I murmured. She looked up at me. I looked into her clear eyes and gave a bitter smile. Now, I can never run away. The old man was still roaring. Ethan, what's going on? Was the goose swapped? Your emotions feel wrong. You haven't turned traitor, have you? I silently cut off the connection. I lowered my head and kissed her. To hell with the undercover mission. I'll be a traitor first. The old man's roars were completely blocked out. My world was reduced to the warmth on my lips. Celeste stiffened for a moment, then relaxed, responding with a clumsy but eager kiss. The compatible channel activated on its own, mana and abyssal energy joyfully intertwining, sending jolts of electricity through me. When we broke apart, we were both breathless. Her eyes were shining, her cheeks flushed. She mumbled, better than the soul link resonance. Lady, you've been corrupted. Now that things were out in the open, Celeste stopped holding back. Ethan, I have nothing to do today. Let's go look at the flowers. Ethan, I got some new spirit tea. Try it. Ethan. She took me with her everywhere, completely unapologetically. The gazes of our fellow disciples went from shock to numbness. Senior brother, Ethan. Impressive. Someone secretly gave me a thumbs up. I smiled like a simpleton, but inside I was wailing. I'm the one who got played. The goo tattoo on my wrist would occasionally grow warm, transmitting her happy emotions to me. The old man's sending stone was vibrating so hard under my pillow it was about to fall apart. I couldn't be bothered. Until one day, the stone exploded into a wisp of the Abyss Lord's divine consciousness, screaming in a rage, Kiddo, you dare to block me. Why did the goo backfire? I was peeling a spirit fruit for Celeste, and my hand slipped. Celeste looked up at the wisp of shadow and raised an eyebrow. What's this? The Abyss Lord's projection froze when it saw Celeste. You too. Celeste nodded calmly. You must be the elder Ethan often speaks of. The old man was confused. Elder. I shot him a frantic look. The projection was silent for a strange moment, then suddenly burst into laughter. Yes, Elder. I'm his distant uncle. I heard he found a wonderful partner, and came to have a look. Celeste smiled. Thank you for your concern, Senior. The projection circled her, its tone becoming extremely excited. Excellent. Excellent. A pure spiritual core, a strong foundation. A perfect vessel. A fine young woman. Were you two having a child? I choked on a piece of fruit. Celeste's ears turned pink, but she remained composed. There's no rush. What do you mean? No rush, the projection yelled. I even brought a gift. He flicked out a black jade slip. The art of celestial abyssal dual cultivation, guaranteed to produce a fine heir. Celeste took the slip, scanned it with her consciousness, and nodded. Thank you, Senior. This technique is indeed unique. Senior sister, you can read demonic texts? The projection was even more pleased. Good. You two get to practicing. I'll be waiting for my for the wedding banquet. Before the projection dissipated, it shot me a fierce glare. Kiddo, you better serve your wife well, or I'll tan your hide. Celeste put away the jade slip, looking thoughtful. Your family is very enthusiastic. I gave a dry laugh. Yeah, a little too enthusiastic. She suddenly leaned in and whispered, so, shall we try this new technique tonight? My legs went weak. Help me. My dad is trying to kill me. That art of celestial abyssal dual cultivation was a little too intense. I flipped through 2 pages and my face turned bright red. I quickly shut it. Senior sister, this technique. It might not be suitable for us. I tried to protest. Celeste took the jade slip, scanned it, and her expression didn't change. Indeed, some parts need adjustment. The circulation of abyssal energy is too aggressive. It needs to be tempered with the 3rd mantra of the Litany of Serenity. She said it so matter-of-factly that I didn't register it at first. All right, the litany is good. Wait a minute. I looked up at her sharply. Senior sister, did you just say abyssal energy? Celeste put down the jade slip and looked up, her gaze as clear as ever, but with a new hint of mischief. Yes, this technique requires abyssal energy to lead. Yours, though intentionally suppressed, is quite pure in essence. Practicing this should be highly effective. I froze, the blood in my veins turning to ice. She knew. She had known all along. When did you? My voice was so dry it didn't sound like my own. From the very beginning, she said calmly. When you first joined the Order, the wisp of abyssal energy that leaked from your pen when you were copying the Litany of Serenity gave you away. So that means, for 20 years. She's been watching me for 20 years. Why didn't you expose me? My voice trembled. At first, I found it amusing. She tilted her head slightly. A shade, listening to the canticles of light every day, copying the Litany of Serenity more diligently than anyone else. Your acting was quite earnest. Later, her tone softened, her ears turning pink. I discovered that though you were a shade, your heart was more simple than many of the disciples of the light. Even, she paused, a little cute. Goo. She was calling a shade cute. My mind was a complete mess. Then, the soul link resonance? The compatible channel? I guided it, she admitted freely. I noticed you were struggling to suppress your abyssal energy, so I tried to help you channel it. I didn't expect it to work so well. The twin flame goo. I swapped them long ago. She shook her wrist, revealing a faint silver tattoo. It's a symbiotic bond now. If I'm hurt, you'll feel it too. I stared at the silver tattoo on her wrist, completely dumbfounded. So for the past 20 years, it wasn't me infiltrating the Order, but her infiltrating me? Why? I murmured. Why do all this? Celeste stood up, walked over to me, and looked down at me. Her gaze was more serious than ever before, filled with a gentle, all-or-nothing resolve. Because, she said softly, each word landing on my heart, I told you, if you like shades, I can fall to shadow for you. A wisp of pure abyssal energy, the same as mine but stronger and purer, coalesced at her fingertip. I've modified the technique. She placed the revised jade slip in my hand, her fingertips brushing against my palm. Shall we begin our training tonight? I looked at my own stunned reflection in her eyes, then down at the undoubtedly scandalous technique manual in my hand. The symbiotic bond on my wrist grew warm, transmitting her amused anticipation to me. The old man's sending stone vibrated wildly under my pillow, probably roaring about his plans for a grandchild. I raised a hand. A precise bolt of abyssal energy shot out, and the sending stone shattered with a crack. The world went quiet. I grabbed her wrist and pulled her in my arms. Let's train, I said through gritted teeth, my ears burning. I'm not scared if you're not. The art of celestial abyssal dual cultivation that my dad sent was completely transformed by Celeste. The words were the same, but the effect was entirely different. Here, the abyssal energy circulation is too violent. It needs to be softened with a third mantra of the Litany of Serenity. When yin and yang converge, the mana must first pass through the nexus point before returning to the energy center. This will prevent the abyssal energy from burning the channels. Here, we can incorporate the basic breathing technique of the Order to harmonize the energies. I looked at the dense annotations, my scalp tingling. Senior sister, isn't this basically a whole new book? Celeste looked up, her expression calm. The original was crude and would damage one's foundation. Of course, it had to be changed. She said it so matter-of-factly that I was speechless. Let's begin, she said, putting down the jade slip. I swallowed hard and began to circulate my abyssal energy. Following her revised path, the abyssal energy cautiously reached out and touched her mana. The expected rejection didn't happen. Instead, there was a smooth, harmonious merging. Ice and fire no longer clashed, but intertwined into a warm, powerful current that flowed through our channels. It was so comfortable it made my scalp tingle, even more so than the previous Soul Link resonances. I couldn't help but let out a soft hum, then quickly suppressed it. The corner of Celeste's mouth curved up imperceptibly. Focus. After one full circulation, I felt warm and relaxed, as if I were soaking in a hot spring. My hidden abyssal energy had actually grown stronger and was unusually docile. How was it, she asked. I stared blankly. Good. It wasn't just good. My dad's original was a suicide manual. Her revised version was a divine scripture. She nodded. Then we will practice this way from now on. Why am I suddenly looking forward to dual cultivation? My dad soon discovered that the connection was completely severed and once again forced a projection of his consciousness into my cell. Murder in his eyes. Kiddo, you dare to... Huh. The projection froze in midair, staring at us as we were cultivating. At that moment, I was surrounded by abyssal energy, but it was perfectly merged with Celeste's pure mana, creating a harmonious gray-white aura. The atmosphere was very proper, yet a little too intimate. The Abyss Lord's projections circled us, its tone shifting from fury to bewilderment. What? What is this technique? How can you cultivate both light and shadow? No, this circulation path. You changed my sacred technique. Celeste slowly ceased her cultivation, opened her eyes, and said calmly, Your technique had some minor flaws, Senior. I made some slight adjustments. Minor flaws? The projection shrieked. That was the culmination of my 1,000 years of hard work. Wait a minute. Your adjustments. They seem to be better. The projection drew closer, sensing carefully, then suddenly grew excited. This mana flow, this balance of yin and yang. Marvelous. Girl, you are a genius. Much better than this idiot Ethan. What did I do? The projection rubbed its hands together. If it had hands, its tone eager. Girl, are you interested in a career in the Abyss? I'll make you a demon general. No, Deputy Lord. Celeste smiled. Thank you for the kind offer, Senior, but I'm quite happy at the order. The projection was heartbroken. A waste of talent. A complete waste. What future is there in the order? Chanting all day. Not at all. Celeste looked at me, her gaze soft. The one I love is here. The projection choked, then glared at me. Kiddo, what did you do to deserve her? I silently puffed out my chest. After cursing me out for a while, the projection suddenly changed its tune. Fine, keep in the family. You two hurry up and cultivate. I've lots of kids. The children must be sent to the Abyss. I will personally train them. We will raise a generation of peerless talents who have mastered both light and shadow. Celeste nodded. That is a possibility. It will depend on the children's aptitude. The projection was overjoyed. Good. I'll go find some parenting manuals right now. A complete guide to feeding your demonic infant. How to give your child a head start in life. Just you wait. The projection vanished with a swoosh. I looked at Celeste. Are you really considering sending our child to the Abyss? Celeste picked up the heavily modified dual cultivation manual, her tone casual. Let's focus on our training first. We'll talk about children later. Her finger traced a line on the page. Tomorrow, let's try adjusting this part. It might increase the efficiency by 30%. I looked at her serious profile and swallowed my words. Oh well, dual cultivation it is. It's not a bad deal after all. The revised art of celestial abyssal dual cultivation was astonishingly effective. My cultivation, the one everyone could see, shot up like a rocket. Celeste even started to help me refine my abyssal energy. Your abyssal energy is pure, but too volatile, she said, her fingertip on my forehead, a cool stream of mana guiding the rampant energy inside me. Circulate it this way to remove its ferocity and increase its resilience. I felt my abyssal energy become more docile, yet more powerful, my feelings complicated. Senior sister, how are you so proficient in demonic arts? She looked up, her tone placid. The Tao is in all things. All paths lead to the same source. Abyssal energy is just another force of the universe. Why shouldn't one be proficient in it? That makes so much sense I can't even argue. Our symbiotic bond grew stronger every day. Sometimes, when her emotions fluctuated, I could clearly feel the silver tattoo on my wrist grow warm. Like right now, I was peeling a spirit fruit for her when my wrist suddenly grew hot, a wave of mingled shyness and determination washing over me. I looked up to see her staring at me, her eyes shining. Ethan, let's have a baby. My hand slipped, and the fruit rolled onto the floor. Senior sister, why so suddenly? Her tone was serious, though her ears were bright red. Our cultivation is stable. Our bodies have harmonized. Now is the best time to conceive child. Their foundation will be the strongest. And, she paused, her voice dropping, I want one. The old man's roars seemed to echo in my head from across the realms. My throat was dry. Okay, one word, floating lightly in the air, yet it felt like it had shattered some kind of shackle. Her eyes lit up instantly, her lips curving into a smile. She leaned in and gave me a quick peck on the lips. We'll start tonight. She stood up, her tone returning to its usual coolness, if you ignored her crimson ears. I modified the final chapter of the technique, specifically for conceiving a spiritual embryo. I watched her leave, touching my lips, completely stunned. So, it's settled? The old man's projection reappeared without an invitation. This time, so excited it could barely maintain its form. I felt it. You're finally getting down to business. Yes, yes, yes. My abyssal grandchild. The projection zoomed around me. What do you need? The greatest treasures of the abyss? A protective ward for the pregnancy? I'll let you use my throne room as a delivery room. Dad, calm down. We've only just started. Calm down, the projection shrieked. This is what I've been waiting 20 years for. Where's the girl? Get her in here. I need to teach her the 3,000 questions of demonic fetal care. Celeste came in, holding the newly revised jade slip. The projection immediately flew over to her. Girl, quick, come back to the abyss with me. The mana here is too pure. It's not good for the demonic embryo's development. Celeste sidestepped him, her tone calm. Rest assured, Senior, I have adjusted the technique to temper the embryo with abyssal energy while nourishing it with celestial mana. The effect will be even better. The projection froze. You can do that? Yes. Celeste handed me the jade slip. Follow this, and in 3 months, the embryo will be stable. The projection leaned in to sense the content of the slip and was once again shocked. This, the harmony of yin and yang, the balance of light and shadow. Marvelous. Absolutely marvelous. Girl, you are a blessing to the demonic path. It whipped around to face me, its tone more serious than ever before. Kiddo, from this day forward, your mission is to fully cooperate with the girl. Whatever she says goes. If she wants the stars, you don't give her the moon. Got it? Yes, sir. The projection rambled on with a list of precautions before reluctantly disappearing. The cell was quiet again. I looked at Celeste. She was reading the jade slip, her profile serene. Senior sister, I couldn't help but ask, what are you willing to do all this? To change techniques for me, to refine my abyssal energy, to even bear a child who is destined to be half demon. She looked up, her eyes as clear as ever. I told you, between partners, what difference does light or shadow make? She stood up and took my wrist. It's time. Let's train. A warm current flowed from the symbiotic bond on my wrist, as warm and undeniable as the smile in her eyes. I squeezed her hand. Okay. The news of Celeste's pregnancy couldn't be kept secret, mainly because the Abyss Lord's projection started camping out in our cell. When he sensed the faint fetal heartbeat, he let out a maniacal laugh that blew up half our cave, and the entire order heard him roaring, I'm going to have a grandchild. The Grand Master and the elders surrounded my cell, their faces grim. Ethan, explain yourself. The Grand Master's beard was trembling. Before I could speak, Celeste stepped in front of me, her voice calm. I chose this. Nonsense, the disciplinary elder bellowed. You are the hope of our order. How could you with this boy of unknown origin? His origin is not unknown, Celeste interrupted. A wisp of pure abyssal energy coalesced at her fingertip, making everyone recoil. He is a general under the Abyss Lord, who has been undercover in our order for 20 years. Dead silence. Every sword in the vicinity was pointed at me. Celeste continued. He is also my partner. The silver tattoo on her wrist lit up, resonating with the one on mine. The power of the symbiotic bond pulsed between us. This is a symbiotic bond. We live and die together, she said, looking at the Grand Master. If the Order will not have him, I will leave with him. The Grand Master's face went pale. Celeste, you would betray the Order for him. I'm not betraying anyone. Celeste's tone was still even. I'm simply choosing my partner. If the Order allows it, I will remain a disciple of Ethel. If not, she paused, then I will go and live with him in the Abyss. The elders gasped collectively. The Abyss Lord's projection conveniently appeared, hands on its hips, if it had hips, and laughed wildly. Well said. The girl's got spirit. Listen up, you old fossils of the Order. I approve of this daughter-in-law. If you don't want her, I'll send a grand procession to welcome her to the Abyss. The Grand Master looked at Celeste's flat stomach, then at the menacing projection, and finally at me, his teeth gritted. The child cannot go to the Abyss. The projection scoffed. Not up to you. My grandchild will naturally. Celeste spoke up. The child will stay at the Order. The projection was indignant. Why? Celeste replied. The abyssal energy in the Abyss is too heavy. It's not good for early fetal development. The child needs to be nourished with celestial mana, supplemented by abyssal energy tempering. This place is perfect. Both the projection and the Grand Master were stunned into silence. As for the future, Celeste continued, the child can choose their own path. They can join the order, return to the abyss, or practice both. The projection and the Grand Master looked at each other, and, for once, were silent. Finally, the Grand Master waved his sleeve, his voice strained. "Fine, we will do as you say, but Ethan must be kept under supervision." The projection huffed, "And I will be visiting my grandchild and daughter-in-law often." And so, I began a life under the joint supervision of both the celestial and abyssal realms. The Grand Master personally set up a mana-gathering array to protect Celeste. The Abyss Lord emptied his treasury, piling all sorts of rare and exotic treasures in my cell. Celeste peacefully carried the baby, and in her spare time, she compiled the revised art of celestial abyssal dual cultivation into a complete manual and gave it to the Grand Master and the Abyss Lord. Perhaps this will aid in inter-realm communication. The two leaders clutched the manual like it was the Holy Grail and scurried off to study it, too busy to bother us anymore. 10 months later, our child was born. A girl. At the moment of her birth, celestial mana and abyssal energy spontaneously swirled around her, forming a small yin-yang symbol before being absorbed into her body. The Abyss Lord held the baby, his hands shaking, crying like a child himself. She looks just like her mother, beautiful, and with our demonic fierceness. The Grand Master hovered nearby, his eyes gleaming. This child's spiritual core is clear. Her connection to the Tao is profound. A prodigy of cultivation. They argued endlessly over her name. The Abyss Lord insisted. She must be named Sky Sunderer. It's powerful. The Grand Master retorted, nonsense. She should be named Serenity. It's elegant. Celeste, getting a headache from their bickering, made the final decision. Her name is Hope. The Abyss Lord and the Grand Master both grumbled. Too plain. They settled on calling her Annie for short, with her formal name to be decided later. On Annie's 100-day celebration, we held a choosing ceremony. Spread before her were celestial artifacts, demonic treasures, sacred texts, and abyssal manuals. She ignored them all. She crawled over, grabbed the soul-cleaving demonic blade from the Abyss Lord with one hand, and the jade talisman of Serenity from the Grand Master with the other. Then, she wobbled to her feet and smashed the two items together with a clang. In a clear baby voice, she said 2 words. Dumb, dumb. The hall fell silent. The Abyss Lord and the Grand Master both blushed. Celeste laughed softly and took my hand. It seems she chooses to practice both. I leaned down and kissed her forehead, then my daughter's milky-smelling cheek. The symbiotic bond on my wrist pulsed with a warm, calm rhythm. Outside my cell, the sound of the morning canticles of light was as loud as ever. I listened to it, and for the first time I thought it didn't sound so bad after all. End.